I decided to do a ranking of my top 15 favorite eyeshadow palettes. Now, if you haven't been on my channel very long, you might not know that I have a very large eyeshadow palette collection. Stay tuned for a declutter in the future, but for right now, I did want to rank my top 15 eyeshadow palettes. So if you guys are interested to see what those palettes are and where they rank in the top 15, keep on watching. Okay, so keep in mind that all the palettes that I'm about to mention are all amazing palettes, and ranking them in order from 1 through 15 was really difficult for me. A lot of these are probably just interchangeable because they are just holy grail palettes for me. They're ones that I use a lot, and if my entire collection were to burn down at some point or another, these are the first 15 I would want back in my collection for the reasons that I'm going to share with you. So coming in at number 15 is the Huda Beauty New Nude palette. This palette is just beautiful. These tones are right up my alley. A lot of the rosy and mauve tones, plus there's a good ratio of mattes to shimmers in here, and the quality of this palette is top notch. So if I didn't have this palette in my collection, I would probably repurchase it. Oddly enough, this isn't a palette that I use all the time. I don't know if it's because I have many similar palettes that have a lot of the same tones, or I really don't know, but I do love this palette a whole lot. The only shades that I really haven't used in here are these pressed glitters. It's not that I don't like pressed glitters, because I do to a degree. I don't know. These two, for whatever reason, just haven't been calling my name, but this palette in general is amazing. These like really shimmery shades here are so beautiful. They're very unique, and I think they look really beautiful on the eyes. I'll go ahead and swatch these for you. So, I don't know if you guys can see that very well. That's what those look like there. So the mattes are really good in this palette as well, but the shimmers, those are my favorite. Okay, so coming in at my number 14 spot is my Anastasia Beverly Hills Sultry palette. This palette, first and foremost, the packaging is beautiful. And the inside, it looks like nothing special. And I guess to a degree, I guess you could say it's nothing special. But there's everything in this palette to make a very beautiful, glam, but neutral look. I like that it's got this pop of like coral up here. It's just a way to give an extra, pop of color to a neutral look. I really enjoy this cyborg shade here, this silver, this steampunk shade, this bronzy color. Beautiful. It's foiled. This is just a really great neutral palette. So, it is falling in my number 14 spot because I do have neutral palettes I like more than this one, but this one is pretty fantastic. That one is steampunk, rose quartz, cyborg. Oh, it's beautiful. Antique. So again, very beautiful neutral shades. Good way to glam up a neutral eye look. Now, the farther I got down this list, the harder it was for me to decide what to put where. So if you ask me the same question tomorrow, I might have a little bit of a different, opinion. But tonight, this was how I was feeling. So my number 13 spot is held by the Jouer Skinny Dip palette. This is not one that I reach for a whole lot, but when I'm looking for something that is very glittery and foiled and, something to kind of pizzazz up, I really don't know how to describe it. I'm just going to have to show you. Okay, right here we have Magic Hour. Oh, it's beautiful. Midnight Swim. Tan Lines. And Starlight. So you can see what I mean. The silver shades are absolutely to die for. They are incredible. This really grungy kind of bronzy, I don't even know how to describe it. It is so beautiful, and I would most definitely repurchase this if I didn't already have it in my collection. This is a palette that I wore for like New Year's. I believe I took the shade Magic Hour all over my lid. It's just such a gorgeous shade, and it's an attention getter. It really is. I got quite a few compliments when I did wear this. If you like those really foiled eyeshadows and you're not looking for bright colors, you want something that'll go with neutral looks, you will really enjoy this palette from Jouer. Alright, so moving right along to number 12. This is the Milk Cosmetics Gemini palette. This is a palette that I actually purchased, I believe it was like November of 2018, and I still really, really enjoy this palette. The reason why I picked it for number 12 is because, you know, it's kind of neutral, but it's a little bit more like a fun neutral, because it does have these pops of orange and brown and green in them. So my favorite shade is this one here, Goals. It's like a vibrant, I don't want to say like a lime green, but almost. This was the second palette that I got from Milk Cosmetics, because the first Gemini palette I had literally fell apart. The only thing that I don't like about this is this Gemini shade here. It's like, it's hard pressed in the pan, and when you go to swatch it, it just doesn't swatch very good. It doesn't apply to the eyes very good. But the mattes in this palette are stunning. They are so beautiful, and they're very unique. So that's why I chose it for my 12th spot. Okay, so this is Goals. Oh, it's so pretty. This is Mochi. Such a unique shade. This one is Fire OG. And this one is Lorelei. I know they don't look like anything spectacular, and they look real grungy and, you know, kind of like a puke yellow or whatever. It's a beautiful palette. So, again, that's why it's coming in at number 12. Love it, but there are palettes I have that I love just a little bit more. Alright, coming in at the number 11th spot, this is the Milk Cosmetics Smoke Sessions palette. I bought this palette when it first launched back in 2018, and I was not disappointed when I got this in the mail. My favorite shades are the grungier green shades over here, this really pretty like gold, this deep gold shade here. This one here is stunning. Overall, just a beautiful palette. I'm a sucker for green eyeshadow, so this one was right up my alley. Now, the reason why it's coming in at my 11th spot as opposed to like my number 1 spot is it's just not a palette that I reach for a whole lot, because, you know, it's kind of hard to pull off green eyeshadow on a daily basis. But it is beautiful, and I am totally excited to have it in my collection. The winners in this palette are the shimmer shades. The mattes are beautiful too, but the shimmer shades are where it's at. This is Mean Green. Look at that. This one is Black Widow. This one is Granddaddy. This one's my favorite. That grungy green, I love it. And then this one is Gravity OG. Also very beautiful. So you can use this palette in tandem with like the Gemini palette. It goes pretty well together, but these green tones, they just got my heart. They're beautiful. Alright, so kicking it off in the number 10 spot, so now I'm up to my top 10, is the Sweet Talk palette from ColourPop. I love this palette. It is so beautiful. It's got some really interesting tones in here. It's got some really cool textures. We have like a Super Shock shadow up here. We've got a couple of pressed glitters, which I'm not opposed to. I think they're beautiful. We can deepen it up with this dark shade here. We've got plenty of transition shades. I just love this palette. It's very versatile. It's easy to work with. And every time I've used it, I've come up with a beautiful eye look. So that's why I really enjoy this palette. Okay, first up, this one is in the shade Side to Side. This is their Super Shock eyeshadow formula. Really beautiful. Next up is Garden Date, another beautiful shade. This one is Melody. And this one is their glitter shade in Prima Drama. Guess I should have been leaning forward with these, but these are just so pretty. That's why it's at my top 10. Okay, so for the number 9 spot, this is the Anastasia Beverly Hills collaboration with Jackie Aina. This is a palette that is very interesting to me. It's very versatile. You can do a really beautiful neutral look with this. You can do a more colorful and loud look. You can do something that's very glam, something that's understated. That's why I really like this palette. That's why it's number 9. First up is Dwala's. This one is Sponsored. This one is Zam. This one is Wigglies. So, again, some really beautiful shades. Really glad I have this in my collection, and that's why it's at number 9. Alright, so moving our way down to the number 8 spot. This is the ColourPop It's My Pleasure palette. I will say I don't use this palette as much as I used to when I first got it, but I would be hella bummed if I didn't have it in my collection anymore. And I really do enjoy it, and I do believe it's supposed to be in the number 8 spot. So let me just show you what it looks like on the inside. Beautiful tones. I'm also a sucker for purple eyeshadow, and the quality of this palette is so good. Okay, first up is Earth Shine. Next up is Mr. Sandman. Then we have Bare Minimum, which is probably my favorite shade in the palette. Next to Mr. Sandman, this is another favorite. And then last but not least, we have Do or Dough. Beautiful purple tones. My number 7 spot is the Pat McGrath Labs Bronze Ambition eyeshadow palette. This was like one of her little miniature versions of her full-sized. I think this is the first Pat McGrath palette I ever bought. I'm almost positive it is. And this one caused me to purchase 2 more, and they're not cheap. So that just goes to speak on the quality and how much I really love this palette. It is in the 7th spot. Number 1, the packaging is, you know, you wouldn't expect anything less from Pat McGrath. It opens up like this. It's got a full-size mirror on the inside here. And then I know that the tones don't look like anything special, but they can create such a beautiful bronzy eye look, and I love it. I don't have the shade names on here. I threw away the little insert, so oh well. But anytime that I want a very beautiful, neutral, but glam look, and I'm not reaching for like one of my Anastasia palettes, I grab this one. Especially if I want it to look a little bit more, I don't know how to put it, soft, but still like a little bit glam. They are not as glittery as the ABH shadows. We have this one. Oh, look at that. So pretty. This is why it deserves to be in my number 7 spot. Not to mention the matte brown that they have in here to blend, you know, into your crease or whatever. It is really beautiful. It's just not light enough for me to use as a transition shade, but I do love it. Oh, and if you want to know what I'm wearing on my eyes in this video, I will link that in the cards above. That way you guys can see how I created this look and what I used for that. Moving on to the number 6 spot. This is the Huda Beauty Medium Nude Palette. This is one of her Obsessions palettes. I love pretty much that entire line. They're all really beautiful, but this one in particular really, really pulled at my heartstrings. It's really beautiful, like mauve undertones, but we've got some like bronze shade here, a copper shade. We've got more of like a pink shade. This one's a duochrome. It's just beautiful. Very, very beautiful. You can create a lot of different looks with it, even though you wouldn't think so because it is a pretty small palette. You can. You can lean more brown. You can lean more orange. You can lean more pink. I really enjoy this palette. Look at that goodness. That's why it deserves to be in my number 6 spot. In the number 5 spot is the Pat McGrath Labs, one of her mothership palettes. Doesn't say which one. But these palettes are just next level. The packaging is super sturdy. It's very heavy like plastic. On the back we've got like this metal backing. And then when you open it up, it's got a beveled mirror on the inside. It's a little dirty, it's been used. The shadows themselves are just gorgeous. I'm going to swatch them for you so you can see what I'm talking about. But Pat McGrath shadows are just, the texture is different. It's unique. These shadows are unlike anything else that I have in my collection. Just nothing compares, and that's why it's number 5. Look at this. Look how stunning that is. This one's my absolute favorite. It's one of the favorite shades that I own in my entire collection. This one actually reminds me a lot of Lime Chrome from the Natasha Denona Gold palette. It's not an exact dupe, but it's pretty similar. The texture's different though. And then this one reminds me a lot of Wiggly's from the Anastasia Beverly Hills and Jackie Aina palette. They're not beautiful swatches, so I apologize, but man, they're beautiful shades. Again, the texture's just unique. The shades themselves are stunning, and that's why it deserves to be in my number 5 spot. Alright, we're down to number 4. Coming up in my number 4 spot is the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde palette. This palette is just, it's me. It's me in a palette. The packaging, first and foremost, is beautiful. Obviously, that's Huda on the front. She's got her, her little eyeshadow done. When you open it up on the inside, it's got a nice size mirror in here. And that's what the palette looks like. Stunning colors. We've got a lot of pastels. This glitter up here is to die for. This blue shimmery awesomeness here is just stunning. This really beautiful seafoam green, like, I die for this palette. It is so beautiful. It's unlike anything else that I have in my collection, which is saying something. And I love the formula, I love the quality, and I get inspired when I look at this palette. And that doesn't happen very easily when you own 150 eyeshadow palettes. Ooh, look at that. Oh, that glittery goodness. So again, really love this palette. The colors in here are just stunning. I would definitely repurchase this if for whatever reason I lost this palette or something ever happened to it. I would hope I wouldn't have to because it's pricey, but I would because I love it, and that's why it's at my number 4 spot. Guys, we're moving into my top 3. This was a very difficult choice. I was going to put the Mercury Retrograde palette higher up on my list, like closer to the 1 spot, but I wanted to think of my top 15 in terms of not only what I use, but if I were to lose all of these palettes, what would I need? What would I have to have in my collection to be able to wear eyeshadow on a daily basis? So I have the color part out of the way. We got lots of color. Now we're diving more into my nude shades. So my number 3 palette is the Natasha Denona Gold palette. This is something that I thought long and hard about putting this in my top 5. And I'm going to tell you why. Some of the shades in here really disappointed me. And spending the amount of money that this palette costs for any of these shades to be nothing less than amazing gets underneath my skin. But there are enough good shades in here that make up for the fact that I don't like a handful of these. Starting with the packaging, it's just got really beautiful, like a foil gold type of package. When you open it up, it's got this little protector, this plastic protector right here, which I absolutely hate, and I'm considering tearing it out. But on the inside, we've got a mirror, and then there's your palette. I do like her packaging. I like that it's like bendable. It just makes it more practical when you're using it. But looking inside of here, the mattes, in my opinion, are where it's at. The mattes are blendable. They're buttery. They just work like a dream. They blend themselves. Now, there are a lot of beautiful shimmer shades in here, too. The shades that disappointed me are shimmer shades. Or they're not even shimmer shades. They're like glitter shades. I don't know how to describe them. So I'm not swatching those. I don't want to swatch the disappointments. Okay, first and foremost, everyone that I've ever watched talk about this palette talks about Lime Chrome. It's beautiful. This one is Brass 204M, I believe. Oh man. This one might be my favorite shade in the entire palette. Then we have Oro 201M. These names, I don't understand it. Last but not least, we have Alchemist 206M. Again, stunning quality on the shimmer shades, on these shimmer shades. But the mattes, whew, you know what, let's swatch some of the mattes. When you dip your finger in the pan, it just feels like a cream. It really does. Like, look at this. Oh my gosh. So good. So that's why that's in my number 3 spot. We're moving our way down to the top 2 palettes in my collection. This was tough. I keep saying that, but it's true. I almost put the gold palette at number 1, but I don't know. I guess those few glitter shades that I don't care for knocked it back a few pegs. So my number 2 spot, and you guys might be surprised to see this because this is a fairly newer palette in my collection, but the tones are just, they're me. They're what I look for in eyeshadows. The tones look good on me because of my fair skin. I think they pair well with green eyes, and the quality of these are always amazing because ColourPop has good quality eyeshadows. This is their Flutterby palette. It's got plenty of shimmers, it's got lots of mattes, it's got like a duochrome pinky blue, you've got a pressed glitter in here if you like that sort of thing. Me, I don't care one way or the other, so. But it's just a beautiful palette. I did do a video trying this out. I'll try to remember to link it in the cards above, that way you can go and see that if you want. But it just looked really beautiful when I wore it, in my opinion. And I love this eyeshadow. I'm so glad that I bought this. This is my favorite shade in the whole palette. Look how rich these shadows are. That one swatched like Dookie. Love them. Love this palette. Gorgeous. So, that's why it's at number 2. I love the tones. I love the way it looks on. I love the quality. I love the packaging. Besides the glitter. The glitter gets on my damn nerves. But the rest of this palette is top notch. That's why it's number 2. We are down to my number 1 palette. Can you guess what it is? Do you think you know? You might know. I doubt you know. Because I didn't even know what it was going to be until 20 minutes ago when I laid all these out on my bed and had to decide. Alright, my number 1 palette, because number 1, the quality is fantastic. Number 2, it is neutral, so it goes with just about anything. And number 3, it's got one of my favorite shades in here of all times. I am talking about the Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Glam palette. This palette is just easy. When I wake up in the morning and I'm getting ready for my job, or I'm just getting ready for my day, if I want something that's neutral but looks beautiful, something that is going to be easy to blend, you know, easy to come up with an eye look, I reach for the Soft Glam palette. I probably use this, maybe not even just this, but this in conjunction with other palettes, probably more than any other palette that I own. I love the shade Sultry. I love Bronze. I really like the shade Fairy. They're just good shades. And the neutrals in this palette are perfect for me, for my skin tone. They, again, blend really well together. I love it. I love this palette. That's why it's in my number 1 spot. I'm going to swatch a few of these shades for you and we will be finished with this video. Okay, first up is Sultry. Again, my favorite shade in the palette. Then we have Bronze. My arm's a little bit sticky from being wiped so many times. Next up is Fairy. Oh, it's real sticky. And then we have the shade Glistening. Again, very easy palette to work with because they're neutral shades. Gives you a little pop of pizzazz if you're looking for a little bit of something soft glam. Hence the name of the palette. But that's why it's in my number 1 spot, because I love it and it's easy to use and it's my number 1 boo piece. So that wraps up this video counting down my top 15 eyeshadow palettes of the current moment. Let me know down below what are some of your all's favorite palettes. Are any of them the ones that I just showcased in this video? Also let me know down below. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. That helps my channel out tremendously, and I really appreciate when you guys take the time to do that. If you're not already subscribed, don't forget to hit that subscribe button before you leave today if you like my content. Also, ring that notification bell, that way YouTube will let you know of all my future uploads. And come back and see me again soon. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.